This episode is powered by Podcast Startup, the learning platform for creators with a voice. Podcast Startup covers tech, production, editing, marketing, and more. I know what it feels like to be slowed down by the challenges revolving around fear, procrastination, and tech. Yet I've recorded and published over 260 podcast episodes. To learn more about Podcast Startup, go to unstarvingmusician.com/podcast startup and get free podcasting startup tips right to your inbox. Again, visit unstarvingmusician.com/podcast startup to learn more and get your free podcasting startup tips. This is the Unstarving Musician podcast. I'm your host, Robonzo. The podcast features conversations with me, indie music artists, and industry professionals, and it's all intended to help other indie music artists be better at marketing, business, the creative process, and all the other things that empower us to do more of what we love. Make music. Hey kids, welcome to the Unstarving Musician. I'm Robonzo. I am overjoyed to be in your earbuds today or on your speakers, your Sonos, your Alexa, whatever the heck you listen to podcasts on. I appreciate you being here with me. Yeah, Michael Gilbride of Telco, that's Telco with a little T, is my guest in this episode. This is our second conversation for the podcast. The first one was episode 198, recorded on the 18th of December in 2020. Most of our conversation for this episode feels like we were pissing and moaning about how hard it is to make, publish, and promote music, but we're actually breaking down the range of emotions that independent musicians can go through while working on music projects. Hey, I want to give a shout out to Russell Sheffield of Tract for a generous donation to the podcast. Amazing. You know, this podcast is listener supported, so if you love what I do here, head over to unstarvingmusician.com/crowd sponsor to learn about the many ways that you can offer your support. I would also like to thank Anuj Agarwal and his team at FeedSpot. Anuj is the founder of FeedSpot, and he sent me a nice note to say that unstarvingmusician.com has been selected by a panel at FeedSpot as one of the top 45 musician podcasts on the web. He thanked me for my contribution to this world and said that theirs is the most comprehensive list of top podcasts on the internet. Well, Anuj, thank you, and thank you for putting us at number 12 on that list. FeedSpot is at blog.feedspot.com, and I will put a link in the show notes to the list of podcasts that they created. I know there are several good ones for you to check out. And before I get back to Michael Gilbride of Telco, I also want to mention the Gigging Musician podcast hosted by Jared Judge. Jared dissects everything that goes into being a successful gigging musician. I don't know why I have trouble with that word, gigging. It's those G's. I listened to his episode on how to earn more per gig. It's really good stuff. So you can find it at giggingmusicianpodcast.com and wherever you get your audio joy. And if you've listened to a few episodes, you know I'm involved in an amazing program for musicians who want to find and grow their audience and earn a consistent living making music. It's a program called Music Marketing Method, and it was created by my good friend Linz Crichton. I'm learning a lot. I'm growing my fan base and learning about many ways that I'll be earning money in the new year. It's also helping me grow this podcast. How cool is that? To learn more and to find out if Music Marketing Method is right for you, and if you want to be my classmate in Music Marketing Method, go to unstarvingmusician.com/music marketing. All right. So Michael is living in New York City now, having relocated from Pennsylvania. He has a dedicated studio like a real working musician should. I'm jealous, but I should have one of my own in the new year. Michael is a very serious and passionate person, which translates heavily into his music endeavors. I think he channeled this and a lot of other emotions, plural, into his latest EP, which is called Please Come Home, which dropped the day after our conversation. And this conversation took place on the 21st of October this year, 2021. I learned in our conversation that Michael has a side hustle gig in recording and mastering. It's with a company called mastering.com. This is relevant because he's now self-producing with a newfound level of confidence. But being hard on himself as he is, he's pretty sure he's going to listen back to this new EP later and when he's working on the next one and decide this one's crap. It's kind of funny to me, but I totally get it. But it's funny. I'm hard on myself in many ways, so I was able to completely relate. We discussed how important it is to have fun when we're making music or anything for that matter. And Michael also talks about how to not have fun on the last 10% or so of your EP project, as was the case for him. We realized at the end of our conversation, that his EP released the following day. He thought we were speaking on a Wednesday, but it was actually a Thursday. Oops. I'm sure it all worked out. In fact, I know it did. You can find all of Michael's music at telcomusic.com. So with that, here is me and Michael Gilbride of Telco. Enjoy. Well, thanks for joining me for a part 2, dude.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I was looking forward to it. I'm excited.
We last spoke on the 18th of December, 2020. We're almost at a year.
Jeez, really? Good Lord. Oh my gosh. It's moving so fast.
I know when I read that bit of info, I thought to myself, or I was reflecting the mindset that I could call up that we were having at that state of the pandemic.
Yeah.
It's kind
It's
of,
a whole different feel because we were still on like the downside of it. You know what I mean?
I think
And
so.
now at least some stuff has gone back to normal. But
Yeah. Tell me about the new studio I'm looking at.
yeah, so my fiance and I moved to Manhattan a few months ago. So
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
officially in New York City. Last time we spoke, I was in Pennsylvania, in
Hmm.
my hometown in Scranton, Pennsylvania. But yeah, we moved to New York City. We managed to get a pretty decent deal with all the COVID stuff going on. So I managed to get my own extra room for a studio and got it all sound treated and everything like that. So this is the new home base is right here in New York City. So it's exciting.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Nice. Glad to hear. I forgot that you guys moved. We talked about it briefly. I don't remember if it was on the day that I think it was by email because I'm not sure that the plans were
Right.
even in motion when we spoke the very first time, but maybe they
Nope.
were. Yeah.
No, they weren't. It's all happened pretty quick. The whole last 2 years have been just a blur. So everything's moving so quickly, but I love it here. I love it in New York City and having my own spot and dedicated studio for the first time is exciting.
I'm hoping to do that soon myself. We're talking about moving to Mexico actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're pretty mindset on it, but we still need to make a second trip to this city that we are looking at. And barring that, we don't discover something that gives us pause, well, early next year should be in Mexico.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good luck.
So
That's going to be amazing.
yeah. We went on like a 3.5 week trip. Just actually got back a little less than a week ago,
Jeez.
and we visited several cities, and I got to see some family and some. I, we have some friends that had moved there, and some other friends came and met us for part of the trip. So it was a lot of fun.
Wow. That's beautiful. I'll have to come visit down in Mexico.
That'd be great. That'd be
Yeah.
great. We could jam.
That's
Hopefully, I'll have my dedicated studio.
I know. Just trust me, it makes a difference. Having a room that you could go into and just focus, it makes a huge difference.
I bet. I
Yeah.
bet. When we spoke the first time, we talked about My Name Is Not Kaiser. It was an
Mm,
EP. How many songs were on it?
4.
I remember being struck by the video for Say Hello. I was telling a friend about it today who's in the business. I'm like, you got to check out this video. I'm speaking to this kid today. And
Oh,
anyway,
awesome.
I remember
Yeah,
really
that
liking it.
I know that's feels like forever ago now. It feels
Yeah,
like forever ago and yesterday, but yeah, that EP's been out for over a year now, which is crazy.
that's amazing. I was looking at you're not posting a lot on social, by the way, at least not on
I
Instagram.
know.
I saw like, whoa, there's the year anniversary, like 5 posts down.
I know. I'm trying. You know what? I was just had this conversation with my fiance yesterday. I'm like, I'm, I'm not good at content creation. I'm like, I focus on music, right? Like, I
Smart. Yeah.
want to write music. I wanted to make this EP as best as I possibly could, but 90% of what you do as an independent musician nowadays is like promoting yourself and content creation. I got to get better at that. And that's what I'm trying to focus on now. But it's not easy. Like I didn't get into music because I was good at content creation. I got into it because I liked music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now you can't disentangle those things.
Oh, I know. As someone who tries to be good at content creation, and I mean, I know the podcast gives me the luxury of that's a lot of content, right? A lot of audio
Mm-hmm.
content, but there are other areas, of course, like on social. It's a challenge. I'll give you the same advice I'll give to myself, though, that might help. If you can incorporate as much of what you're actually working on, just like in
Right.
the moment, be it scribbled lyrics, like I'll do things sometimes, like when I'm recording the intro for like this episode, for instance, I'll turn on Instagram Live and just let that run. And
Right.
those kind of things can get some nice engagement. And yeah, just it definitely it takes practice like everything. And it is funny, the more you do it, the easier it gets for sure.
Right. That's the
Yeah.
thing I realized. I think when I first started, I wanted to have more of like a reserved, like only post really high quality stuff like the Say Hello music video or like,
Hmm.
a live session and stuff like that. And then I'm looking at this and I'm like, no one's watching it anyway. I was like, so I need to figure out a better way to connect with people and stuff. So I think trying to show your personality a little more and just be off as authentic as you can be and put stuff out there for people to look at is the new plan moving forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I joined this marketing group, and one of the things I knew that the founder of the program had been doing, she started on Twitter, and she's still like that's kind of her jam as far as social goes. But she's kind of branched off into so many things. She doesn't have to spend her life there, but
Mm-hmm.
um, she taught me about having conversations with people, just genuine conversations to find, your potential fans, and then how to, give them things, entice them to be part of the inner circle, so to speak. And it's
Yeah.
been pretty cool. It's still time though, you still got to dedicate a lot
Right.
of time to it. And she talked about how hard she worked. I think when I first met her, I think she was around she might have been at around 13,000 followers on Twitter. Now she's over like 30, I think, or 40.
Jeez.
It's kind of
Yeah.
crazy.
So
Yeah.
it's working.
Yeah, yeah, it totally does. And what's funny, the pandemic was nothing for her because she started online. She was doing some gigging locally,
Right.
but she just sort of started online. So this is was didn't miss a step, when the pandemic started. So anyway, I feel
Yeah.
for you, brother.
Yeah. It's not easy, but we're both going through it. So we'll figure
Yeah,
it out.
yeah, no kidding. Well, and I did ask you last time on this note about your promo efforts. I guess you were using a PR
Yeah.
um, company or consultant. Or have you worked with them lately?
No, no, this EP I'm doing completely by myself. So it's hard to know what works, right? Like you could get a write up on an amazing blog, you could get an amazing podcast interview, you can get whatever. And it's impossible to know, is this actually going to translate to someone who would show up to my show, someone who would buy my merch? And a lot of times, and maybe I'm just being skeptical, but a lot of times it doesn't. You know what I mean? It's
Mm,
really good for just sort of building clout or the appearance of, respectability and things like that. And so this time around with the EP, I was like, I really think that the only thing that will get me to the point where I can do this for a living is just making the best music I possibly can. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And so I was like, I'm going to work my butt off to make this EP as best as it possibly can. And I'm going to try and just do whatever I can to promote it, but it's too expensive. I can't, you know what I mean? I can't pay for PR companies and then also run Facebook ads and then also do playlist services and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
when 95% of it doesn't seem to translate into someone who would actually show up to your show anyway, you're like, all I'm doing is padding stats on Spotify and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So I think for the first EP, it was fine because it establishes some credibility, but it's like now I really need to get to the point where I can sell tickets or I can sell merch or I can, have someone buy the record or whatever the case is. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's kind of been the perspective shift.
Yeah, sure. I was thinking about what this same gal I was telling you about. Her name is Linz Crichton, that runs that program I'm in, and I've been absent for several weeks because of my travels. But I hear her say, because we have these biweekly group, kind of hive mind Q&A things, and I've heard her say so many times, like it depends on what your goals are, and I've heard you say about 3 times, I think, like getting people to your shows is a big
Mm-hmm.
deal, and I'm sure you have more than just that as a goal, but that's like a big thing. But so obviously, everything you do has to be centered on whatever that goal or those goals are, and
Mm-hmm.
as best we can, try to figure out, is this gonna be is this going to give me a good chance at some of the results I'm looking for this particular task? Because, yeah, there's a million different things we can be doing, right? And then, but which ones should we spend our time on? Obviously, we don't want to scattershot and do too many things at once,
Right.
but
And money, time and money. That's the other thing. It's like you're dumping X amount of dollars into your music and you're getting 1/100th of X back. It's like,
yeah.
what am I doing? This is not sustainable? You know what I mean?
Well, I feel for you. Yeah, I mean, I was laughing at like, well, two singles out, and I was looking at all the money spent and stuff, and still,
Crazy.
working on figuring these things out. But one thing I guess Lynn's opened my eyes to is that there's a lot of different ways to generate income for musicians. We're arguably very different types of musicians too, right? You don't play drums, do you?
Mm-mm.
Or not
Nope,
much
just
anyway?
piano. No.
Piano. Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't consider yourself much of a guitar player either, or?
No, I don't play any guitar. So I work with a guitarist for my project,
Yeah, yeah.
which no one would know,
But anyway, so we are different. So I'm a drummer. I play a little bit of guitar.
Mhm.
I sing. You sing. We both have capabilities to record. But anyway, there's a lot of different types of opportunities out there, and that was the other cool thing. If you ever want to talk about it, I can try to plant some seeds in your head. But a lot of different things that we could be doing. So that's nice because you can explore. Like, okay, I would like to try to, for instance, get some session work online, be it cutting vocals for other people's
Right.
music to bring in a little income, or maybe mixing some stuff. Yeah, there's just all kinds of crazy stuff. It's funny though, a lot of students in that thing got really overwhelmed because there are so many things, but it's just like she's tried to impress upon us that these are just to show you the different things. You obviously can't do them all. She's tried them all,
Yeah.
but she's
Right.
focused on some things. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy, we're commiserating, aren't we?
I know. Just complaining. It's well, I love it.
All right, I listened to -9 again today, 10th Street and Berwick for the first time. Did I say that
Oh,
right?
cool. Yep,
Berwick?
Berwick. Yep.
Yeah. Um, I love -9. I love 10th Street. Berwick is pretty amazing too. It's very different than the other ones. So I
Yeah.
guess I want to start by asking you what was different about maybe the influences or the motivation for Berwick versus say the one prior, which was that 10th Street that came before?
10th Street. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Berwick was so coming out of the EP release last year. I went 2021. I'm just gonna release a couple singles or whatever, promote the EP. Released -9 in January. I was like, maybe I'll release one more single, one cover or something like that. So I had that in the back of my mind that I was just gonna do another single or whatever. And there was a situation in my family. I had a falling out with someone very close to me, and whenever there's too much emotion to process myself, that's always when I try and write music. That's what it's good for, is like bottling up that excess emotion. So I was at my piano and I wrote Berwick just very simply on the piano.
Are
Like
you at your
just
piano right now?
no, unfortunately it's at home in Scranton for rehearsals because I
Okay, I
have
was
to
gonna say
rehearse.
play it.
I know I will. I'll promise I'll do a live session or something, but it was very intimate. It was just I was just sitting at my piano and I just wrote it very quickly. And it was that song where I went, no, okay, I'm going to do another EP because I feel like I have stuff to say. And I had this cohesive message that wouldn't come across in singles. So that was really the song that made this become an EP and not singles. We, I got together with my guitarist, who's like my co-producer, he's everywhere on this record. He just stays in the shadows because that's what he likes to do. But he's like unbelievable. His name's Eric Chezik. But we rented an Airbnb in Berwick, Pennsylvania, and we holed ourselves up there and we started working on the song. And it ended up sounding almost like a folk song. And we ended up then working with some producers that I'm close with in Utah. They run a studio called Slow Wave Studios, and we sent it to them and they sent us this synthed out like spacey thing back. And then I chipped away at that and created my own version of it. And then we ended up with this weird, somewhat intimate, someone big and spacey, somewhat folky, crazy behemoth of a song. And it's going to be the intro track on the EP because it just sort of sets the tone, like I think thematically and sonically. for the record. So I guess the answer is I don't know where it came from, because it's just a confluence of a bunch of different events. But there's also the other thing is that with the first EP, I made what I was capable of making. For the second EP, I feel like I'm now gotten to the point where, via the connections I have or my own skill sets or my own music production skills, I can now create more of the sounds that I want to create or that I like in music. So I think that with this EP, it's much more exploratory because I'm capable of it. You know what I mean? Whereas the last one, I was much more limited.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting to hear because the last one was pretty good. What is the,
Appreciate it.
if there is one like sort of investment, be it time or money, or maybe it's not so much an investment, but something else that happened. What one thing could you point to that helped you elevate your production skills to a point where you feel that much, this much better than prior to,
Yeah.
starting your first EP?
Well, it's partially education, just going out and finding the education on how to produce stuff. So I, this is going to sound like a plug. I work for an education company that teaches mastering, music mastering, right?
Oh, nice.
And so that's what I do as my part-time gig to pay bills and stuff, is work for this company. And the one thing we stress in that program is that there's an objective side to music that a lot of artists tend to forget about. You talk about the subjective side of music, which is creation and melodies and the emotion and all that stuff. But then there's an objective side, which is, how do I actually package this in a way that when someone else listens to it, they hear what was inside my head. And so I had
Hmm.
to focus a lot on the objective side of music production, on frequencies and volume and all of those things that allow me to package what's inside my head and put it out there. And that just takes time and it takes practice. And, working with Eric, being able to just soak up like a sponge all of his skill sets. And because now I go back, I listen to the first EP, and I can't get through it because I like so want to go back and change things and fix things, and I hear all the issues with it. And so it's like you're always sort of growing and evolving, which is good.
Yeah, sure. I've heard this from people who have any sort of production or engineering skills, either of some of their own work, or when I hear them critique the work of others. This really zoom in on minutia. Well, what
Yeah.
is to the average listener minutia? But all those little things make a big difference. So what do you do at that company? Or how did you go in there? What did you start doing? Are you doing the same thing that you started at in this company that
Yeah.
teaches mastering?
Yeah. Well, the company's called mastering.com. So it's like an online education
No,
company.
I think I saw something on your social about this, or maybe.
Yeah. So I went through the program. That's how I became acquainted with them. And that was the inflection point for my music production. I was working on Say Hello when I went through that program, and I couldn't get Say Hello sounding the way I wanted it to. Went through the program, got all this objective side of music production under my belt. And then that was the catalyst for me releasing Say Hello and quitting my job and stuff. So I saw that they were hiring a few months later for a sales rep, and I was like, it worked for me. You know what I mean? I have no problem getting on the phone and talking to other people about it. And so that's been a great gig, and meeting other musicians that are in the same exact boat as I was, which is you're at the 90% mark and you want to get to 100% and you want to get what's inside your head out. So learned a lot through those conversations. And, but yeah, I mean, that was sort of the inflection point for me in my music production.
That's
And,
cool.
and now we got to the point where, I mean, like, I have those guys master it because obviously they're professional, but like we mix, me and Eric, we mix everything, we record everything. Like we do that all of ourselves. We self-produce everything. And that's something that we're really proud of. And obviously there's room to grow and improve. And I'm sure by the time I really release the next thing, I'll be wishing I could change things with this EP. But as long as the trajectory is pointed upward, I'm happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I don't know if this applies to the generation right now because technology sort of ebbs and flows, right, in terms of its progression. But I was going to say, if it makes you feel any better, I read from Keith Richards, or maybe heard an interview once, that he said every time they went in the studio, they were learning some. It was like learning all over again because there was something really new and exciting. And I would think, anyway, from one self-produced project to the next, you could kind of experience that same thing if it's not exactly the same, especially if you're on this learning path, a very, kind of pointed learning path that you're on.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think about that sometimes where I got my first copy of Pro Tools when I was 21. So I was behind the game for sure, right? I had never written a song until I was 18. I'd never played piano until I was 18. I had never sang in front of people since I was 17 years old or whatever. So I got into this very late. And you go at 21, you get your first copy of Pro Tools, and now at 26, you're putting out your second EP that was self-produced. And it's like if you just keep moving in the direction, you will eventually get there. I heard like a good quote the other day. They said people overestimate what they can do in a year, but they
Yeah,
underestimate what they can do in 5 years or 10 years.
sure.
And so I always knew it was going to take me time to get here, but 5, 10 years later, at least I'm at the point where I'm doing what I want to do. And now it's just up to me to write a great song that allows
Yeah,
me to do it for a living. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. So what or who is the bar that you're holding yourself against when I laugh every time I remember when we spoke the first time, you were concerned about aging out of music at the age of 25, which made me laugh. And then today you're like, I didn't get my first copy of Pro Tools till I was
I
21.
know.
So yeah, what do you compare yourself to, or what bar is it that you're looking at that you're like, I wish I'd have done that or something?
Yeah, that's another conversation I've been having a lot recently, which is like, realistically am I expecting out of my music career, and what am I shooting for, and how will I know if I'm on the right path? And I think I don't think there's any milestone or bar that I have to clear. It's so much more trajectory based. So a year from now, am I doing better than I was a year ago? Right? Is this second EP better than the first EP? Am I playing a show at a better venue than I played a year ago? Do I have more people buying my merch? Do I have more people interacting with me or buying the record? So it's like I could pick an arbitrary thing, say I want to play Madison Square Garden 5 years from now, right? But
Mhm.
realistically, I think the thing that's going to dictate whether or not this is working or not is the trend upward or sideways, or hopefully not downward.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you interpreted my question that way, because that was very it was insightful. What I was actually asking was like, it sounds like when you say things like I got, I didn't get my first copy of Pro Tools till I was 21,
Hmm.
that you have this bar that someone else holds, that you're
Oh,
kind of
right.
comparing your, or not, I shouldn't say comparing
I
yourself
am,
to, but
yeah.
you're looking, yeah, what is that?
Uh, well, I think by the time you're 21, you have your internal identity kind of set, right? And if it wasn't set as a musician for 21 years, and now you have to suddenly convince yourself that, yeah, you are a musician, that's a hard thing to do when you've watched kids you've grown up with who have been playing guitar since they were 10 years old, right? Like my guitarist, the reason we work together is because he was the best guitarist I've ever met from elementary school.
Hmm.
And so when I needed somebody to help me out, I hit him up randomly out of the blue. We hadn't talked for years after I graduated, and said, can you help me? And now we're like the best of friends, and work on music all the time. But it's like, so I view him as a musician. I view myself as someone who got into music at 21. And obviously that's something that I need to shift my perspective on. But there's always that sort of like imposter syndrome because I got into it later than a lot of people who
Sure.
are virtuosos at their instrument and stuff like that. So in some ways it hinders you. In a lot of ways, I think it helps because it forces me to be hyper focused on making the best thing possible to prove to people that, I am legitimate.
Sure. I understand all those things. um yeah, it's funny, just sort of thinking about myself. I've been playing, since I was like 13, but I didn't play my first paying gigs, until I was over 25. I was still in my
Mm.
20s. But then there's a lot of years of just doing that, gigging with people, and yeah, finally start writing stuff. So it's funny, everybody's got a different perspective. And I was kind of trying to reflect on people who've had lots of success, and how there's a big variation of how they started, when they
Yeah.
started, how old they were when they hit it big. It's not unheard of that, at least years back. Like I don't follow. I don't guess I can't think of any like super new artists this applies, but some years back, it wasn't terribly uncommon for an artist to sneak in at the age of 30, 35 and suddenly go
Right.
big, but in most cases, I guess they were at it for a while, but not always. I think
Right.
sometimes people just sort of, I'm going to start doing music. I met some gal in Nashville at a podcast conference, and she's a dancer, but she decided because everybody's making music there, she wanted to make music. So she, like you, she has some friends that she was able to collaborate with, and she shared her song with me. I was actually really impressed. This is like someone who didn't have a lot of music background, but she had some lyric ideas. She could sing, and she had people that believed in her. So, and
Yeah.
she might be pretty close to your age, I guess, but it's interesting. Everybody goes through a different trajectory.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think if I was making like boy band type stuff where I was trying to do dance and choreograph stuff, it's like, yeah, maybe I'm a little old for that. But
Yeah.
in independent pop, indie rock, indie whatever, like I have plenty of time. But I think the way I have to look at it is it's not like plenty of time to be lazy and take my time with it. It's just plenty of time that if I keep working hard, then you've got enough time for it to work out.
Yeah, sure. And you got to ask yourself over and over, are you having fun, Michael?
I know, and I wasn't in the last couple of weeks. To be totally honest, like this was something that me and Eric talked about. I was like, whatever way we structured this EP, it became the most stressful behemoth of a thing to finish for whatever reason was the last like 10%. Because what I think happened was we didn't finish one song and then like finish the next and then finish the next. It was like all of the songs were at 80%. And so you didn't feel like you had anything done. And that was like Panic City. So I really need to, I'm taking the EP got finished Monday and it comes out 2 days from now. So like we cut it really close, and I'm taking these next couple of weeks to sit back and go, how can I enjoy this process more the next time I go through it? What did I do incorrectly? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's that's probably a very common story you just told too. What was the big time constraint?
Nothing. It was all arbitrary. So I wanted to release it. The original EP release date was going to be September 14th. So we're ways off of that. I wanted to release it at the very latest this Friday because I don't want to get too close to the holidays. It's just a crappy time to release music with everybody, you know, traveling and everything like that. So I wanted to get it out by then, but I think what the time constraint was is that Eric and I, we have a really good working relationship, but we're both perfectionists in different realms. So I'm a perfectionist for the creative side, right? If it's not what I hear in my head, then we sit there until it is. And Eric is a perfectionist on the technical side. So if he has a unbelievable take, but there's one note that is literally like a couple cents out of tune, he will redo the whole thing from scratch, right? So like in that way, for this EP, because we did the whole EP together, whereas with the last one we only did Say Hello together, this EP is now 4 songs that we've tried to really button up every loose end, but it makes for some labor intensive processes. Like last Sunday we met virtually, we work virtually, and we got on at 12 o'clock, and I think we logged off at our computers at 12:30 at night, and it was done. So it's a lot.
That's funny. In some ways, I can relate. I'm thinking back to the first single I did that I was obsessing over, like, are the drums, is the drum track good enough? Is the drum track good enough? And then there are just other things that, like, that's as good as it's going to get. And when it comes to the other musicians that I had on, like, I thought their performances were so nice, but little
Mhm.
things have happened. Like, I had a studio dilemma where I could no longer play drums here, and I was trying to redo part, actually like a break in my second single, and that has a drum thing that comes back, supposed to build back up, and I rushed it. So I'm trying to, well, actually I think it was not what I wanted. So anyway, I'm re-recording it, and I'm done. I literally can't record anymore, and I rushed it. So I just told my friend, and you'll hear this, and he fixed it. You can't tell.
Right. That's the crazy thing.
And I'm just like, well, I know garbage in, garbage out, but at some point, you put a lot into it. And but
Fits
the
it in
other
the
thing I was
mix.
laughing is we have something very in common in that you sound like you're very hard on yourself, and I do that to myself too.
Yeah.
Sometimes over the wrong things, or much of the time I do that to myself over the wrong things. But anyway.
Well, I think there's also too, there's like people who get in the studio and they like play one take and they're like, oh, this is such a vibe, bro. Like, and then they just put it out. And it's like, I can't do that. Like me and Eric, and neither can Eric. It's like we over examine it sometimes to a fault, which is a problem on the complete opposite side of the spectrum. But I'm also not the type of person where it's like, go in, we do it in one take, and then we just print it. And I think that's because I don't put out a lot of music. That the music that I do put out, I want to be really, really curated. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's a good goal. As indies, we don't necessarily get as many chances as we'd like, right? So you want to
Right.
do the best that you can. Are you familiar with the production work of Jeff Lynne by chance?
I
He
know the name,
so he's like
but I can't place it.
first famous from ELO, and he also had relationships with Tom Petty and George Harrison, and he was in the Traveling
Yes.
Wilburys.
Okay.
But I there's some nice interviews that reference him. I need to listen to one with him, but I've heard his production techniques described, and I'm like, wow, that dude is obsessive. But it sounds like kind of you are as well. But about production. But part of me was listening to you also and going, well, I hope for you. I was gonna predict for you, but actually, I hope for you that one day you'll just sort of, at least for a project anyway, you're gonna kind of let go of it and go, let's just do
Relax.
this one a little more live and see how it goes, and you'll be
I
happy.
know. I know. I hope that too. And that's actually what I was thinking like moving forward. I was like, man, it would be nice to just make like some sort of gritty like rock record where we don't have to like polish everything. That would be fun. So I don't know. Just gonna do whatever's fun next and hope that we get some good stuff out of it.
I think that's a good thing to make sure you're go in with the idea of having some fun, and I'm sure the other parts of your personality for wanting to do the best thing that you can and
Right.
kind of be all organized like you are about it will come through without even trying. But I hope that it does turn out to be fun. So the time
Yeah.
went by super fast. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about, which I should have asked you before we started, that we didn't touch on?
Geez. No. I mean, the EP's out this Friday. I don't know when this will air, but
Well, you know what? I can put the video out so that this Friday, you mean like
oh,
tomorrow?
it's tomorrow. Jeez. Oh my gosh. Yes, it's tomorrow.
Well,
Good
you know
Lord.
what?
I thought it was Wednesday.
I'm gonna try to put the video out, or I'll put something out, and so that'll coincide with that. You'll have another piece of content for the
Perfect. I love it. And
for the
more
campaign.
content, the better. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's out tomorrow. And I haven't announced this yet, but I will announce it tomorrow. But I'm playing my first ever telco show in New York City on November 3rd
oh nice.
at Arlene's Grocery. So that's gonna be fun. My buddy Christian Sparaccio is gonna headline that show. And yeah, we got a band together and we're rehearsing and first ever live show. So I'm scared to death, but I'm pumped. So it's gonna be fun.
I'm happy for you. Well, I hope that you can manage to get some video or some recording of that because I'd love to hear it.
Of course, yeah. I hope so. We'll
That
see.
that'd be great. Well, thanks, dude, for joining me. I know I'm going to talk to you again. I'll do my best to get a little piece of something out for tomorrow to coincide with
Perfect.
the release. Congratulations. So this is going to be the full EP
Yeah,
coming
full
out
EP.
tomorrow.
Yep. Yep. So
Nice.
two more songs in addition to the two singles that were released from it.
Very nice. I look forward to hearing it, man. And it's great to talk to you. Great to see you. I'm happy for you in New York, in the New York area with your fiance and your dedicated
Thank you.
studio and your awesome mic.
It's all good. It's all good. I just need to get one of these songs to blow up. So
I'm sure they
we'll
will. You
see.
know what? Yeah, I have one thing I'll share with you that I tell myself a
Mhm.
lot when I start feeling like I need to complain. I'll just tell myself joking, like, my life is hard.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. I'm looking around like my dog is asleep literally right here. I'm in an apartment in Manhattan. It's not that bad, you know.
No, not at all, man. You're looking good too, man. All right.
I
We'll talk to you
appreciate it.
soon.
All right, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
This episode was powered by Bandzoogle, the platform for musicians and bands to build their website and manage direct-to-fan marketing and sales. Bandzoogle features powerful design options, a commission-free store to sell music, merch, and tickets, detailed fan data, integrations with social networks, and more. Plans start at just $8.29 a month, which includes a free custom domain name. Try it at bandzoogle.com and use the promo code ROBONZO, ROBONZO, to get 15% off your first year. That's bandzoogle.com, promo code ROBONZO. Did you know you can help other independent musicians find the Unstarving Musician by following or subscribing on your audio platform of choice? Well, now you do, and it really does help.
And if you have feedback, please go to unstarvingmusician.com to get all my contact info. You can text me, call me, email me, leave a voice message right there on that page. Just go down to the bottom of the page and you'll find everything you need to know. I really would love to hear any of your comments, suggestions, questions, whatever you've got. And you can find links to just about everything talked about in this episode at unstarvingmusician.com/podcast. All right, I'm peacing out. Thank you for listening and sharing with your musician friends and fellow indie music bands. Peace, gratitude, and a whole lot of love.